Hello. I'm going to be doing a about 5-minute body scan here. There's no big theme, just checking in, feeling what you feel. And after the body scan, I'll be filling out a sensing form. And this is a form that I created to help foster vocabulary for thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions, all the stuff that you feel. I find gaining vocabulary for how to talk about it feels very supportive of life in general. And so through the guided practice as well as the sensing form, I can't emphasize enough, I strongly encourage you to modify it to fit your own experience. What I'm providing is just a real rough, loose template. And if you want to mute me or cross stuff out and write in your own stuff and anything like that, you are highly encouraged to do so. There's an explainer video if you'd like to check that out first. The real short version of advice I have is that if you get a feeling of like too muchness or like this doesn't feel right, go ahead and stop. Maybe you try again later. But since I'm in video form and not there with you, yeah, I just add a little bit more caution of if it's bringing up some real difficult feelings or it doesn't feel so good. I recommend working with somebody live if you're new to this, and also really emphasizing stopping if you need to. This is all just life support. There's no one way to do it right. Okay, so with that, I'm going to dive into this body scan. Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe 8, maybe 10, maybe 4, somewhere around there. Go ahead and pause the video or in real time, find a position that you want to be in for about that length of time. And I'm just going to go ahead and start noticing into my head space. I can even feel with my fingers if I want to. Noticing the fleshiness. Noticing how my hairdo even brings a bit of tension to my scalp, my skin. Maybe you notice into your face, your eyes, your mouth. As you're noticing, things may change or they may stay the same, and all is welcome. No need to try to do anything. Our goal is just to notice as best we can whatever is happening. And now I'm moving in from my skin into the inner flesh of me, and I'm noticing my mouth on the inside and my tongue. Maybe we notice down into our throat. Sometimes I even like to take in air and feel that air move through my throat to really brighten up the feeling there. Moving into your chest space. So there's this front chest where your throat and neck meet your chest, your sternum. If you push a bit, you can feel your ribs in there. Maybe you feel some of your sternum bone. And so noticing that front part, and then also underneath your armpits, and in your back, this whole upper torso, maybe including your arms in this as well, your hands. Traveling your attention around this upper torso region. And then traveling down to your belly area. Maybe even feel your belly button. And again, this front belly and these side bellies and this back belly. Maybe you feel your spine, maybe not. That whole kind of center belly region. Maybe you notice how the back or the front differ or are similar. Maybe give a little hello to all the cells and organs in there. And then rolling your attention down a little further to your seat, to your pelvic bowl. And you can even feel your pelvic bones if that helps you. Even like grab my butt flesh a little bit there. And notice into the whole seat of my butt and all of this genital material, these hip flexors, that point where my legs are meeting my torso, that whole seat area. And then traveling down my legs, my upper legs, my knees. Again, this 3D form, right? It's not just the top of my knees, but these side knees and these back knees, and this roundness of these thighs. And down into this lower leg. And then checking out my feet, and my toes, the soles of my feet, just noticing what's going on. And taking one last sip here, or sniff of yourself, of this fleshy self. Including anything called like thoughts or emotions or sensations, blending it all sort of together. And at your pace, kind of opening up your eyes again. Maybe you wiggle a little bit, maybe not. And so from here, I'm going to move into working on this sensing form. And I'm going to be doing a thing where I'm going to be remembering what we just did together, this body scan, and then as well as in real time feeling it. So I'm kind of blending the recent past with the very present as I get to each question in the sensing form. You can make all the detailed notes you want. I would suggest to kind of go about it in an easy way. Don't, if you notice getting stuck in like, am I doing it right? How should I do it? Just try something the first time or two. So you kind of get a sense of it. So like whatever you do this time, you can do something different later. You can change your route as you go along. But as best you can, try not to get too stuck in like exactly how you should do it. There's no one right way. All ways are welcome. And again, I'm going to be working with what I felt just as a template, and the words on the form are just a template. So go ahead and use whatever words are fitting for you. I'm going to move over now to filling out this form in real time with you, and you'll see the recorded version as I talk through it. Okay, so I'm starting over here, and the entry step is this drawing a rough estimate of your shape. You could just draw like a circle, really. I'm gonna do a real rough cartoon. You can be a fine artist, but there's no need. So here's the front of me. I'm going to draw a side view. And another side view. And then a back view. And then this first question is about location. So working with this idea of like, did any region or thought or emotion or sensation or feeling like speak up a bit louder than other areas? And so for now, we're real intentionally not going to dive into like what it means. For now, the practice is very much just to stay with like describing it. And later at the end, there'll be time for like meaning and why and whatnot. But for now, just really as much as you can, staying with like the most kind of basic descriptions you can. So let's see, for me, oh, one more note here too. If you felt nothing, or like numb, that's a wonderful thing to write. So, make a note of that also. It's really, I find really helpful to notice, to sort of track your experience in life, and it sort of like helps all your cells and organs to learn to make sense of the world, I find. So make a note of whatever you find, including no feeling or numbness. Okay, so here I have these fleshy bodies, and there's some stuff I notice real strong. One is this throat area for me, and I could, and I like these views because I'm sensing like, was it more to the front? And I'm like, no, it's really very much like in the middle, like slightly more to the front, but like, and I don't feel it in the back, but so in this way where I have this back view of me, I don't sense my throat back there, but I do sense it on the sides, towards the middle of my flesh, and very much in the front. So, and I notice very minorly some like lower back stuff. That one felt very not so strong. So I'm gonna really be working with the throat, my throat. You can choose multiple areas. And I guess one more note, I'm not sure how it is for you, but I use this term sometimes called real thinky, when I'm sort of like stuck in my head, and it very much feels in my head. So for a lot of people, I've found they sort of don't think about thinking as having a feeling, but I want to invite you to check out, like, if you're having like what you call emotions or thoughts happen, really lean into this location question. Does it feel more up here, or more by your feet, or more by your tush? Whatever's happening. And then one more thing with this location. So I'm going to just draw as an example. For me in this practice, I didn't feel anything really outside of my body. But sometimes I have a feeling of myself that extends beyond my skin. And so like it might be like an arm's length away, or it might be like just a hand distance away from my flesh that is within the experience that I really am noticing. So if you notice something outside of your flesh, outside of your skin, go ahead and make note of that too. Whatever feels like real loosely you in this. We're mostly focusing on flesh, but not limited to. Okay? So, there I have my locations. And then I'm moving to this number 2, movement direction. And on the first page and on all the pages, there's at the bottom, there are hints. Like if you can't think of any words, maybe the hints at the bottom might help. Maybe not. Just to let you know they're there if they help you. So movement direction, does this area or feeling seem to be moving? And I'm just going to draw again and make notes, and you can draw or make notes or do whatever you want to kind of like track and describe. So I'm drawing a little stick figure again, and I'm circling again this area of interest. And for me, I can't quite tell. Maybe there's a squeezing or maybe a swirling. Something like a swirling or a squeezing. It's definitely, so one thing I like to do a lot is like notice, is it moving away from my center or my flesh, or towards my center or my flesh? And the sensation I have, doesn't really seem to be doing either. So down here in the hints, I remember I have this hovering in place, and that's sort of what's happening. And a little bit of this spiraling too. And all these other ones, they don't relate to me. Yeah, so that's it for direction for now, for me. 3, tempo, speed, quality of movement. So on a scale of 0, no movement whatsoever, to 10, the fastest thing I can imagine. I don't know, airplane or like a space rocket, I'm not sure. Even though it's stationary, it's not moving like in space, it does feel like it's like moving within that spiral or kind of like hovering area. And for me, I don't know, I'm just going to say a 3. Use the sort of speed. And for me, it's rather consistent. It's like, but notice for yourself, like another thing with this tempo is like, is whatever you're checking out in yourself, is it rhythmic or arrhythmic? Is it consistent? Is it like, you know, beeping, kind of like Morse code or something? Blips. Mine is more, it's very steady actually, for me. And the quality of movement. Yeah, let me check down here in the hints. Is there anything else? It's not really like old TV static. It's not really like, no. It's almost like gentle riptides, even though I don't know that that makes sense. There's turbulence, but it's very gentle turbulence. Okay, so I'm going to move on to number 4. Touch and texture. If I could touch this area with my fingers or my tongue, what would it be like? What would the material or texture be like? Like mushy? And kind of knotty. Like if like flesh was all knotted up. Knotty flesh. Very fleshy. And again, I'm going to these hints, not plastic, not concrete, more like mud, not really like sandpaper, not like fog, not like maybe a little elastic. It's not brittle, it's definitely moist and fleshy and soft. Oh, and this is another one, and it's solid. Like, does it feel like if you touched this area, would it sort of like fall apart, or could you really like grab it? Is it hardy or sturdy, or very fragile or flimsy? Mine's rather hardy. Like it's not solid like concrete, but like when you describe a person as being like they're a solid person, like it has that kind of like that sense of solid. And again, just I mentioned this earlier, but I'm noticing my own changing. So I'm like remembering and feeling in present time. And as you become familiar with this practice, you can integrate like the body scan in as you do the form at the same time. I'm breaking it up into 2 parts because it is a bit more clear to teach that way, I think. But yeah, so I feel some of what I remember, and also it's a little bit different as I'm moving on. Yours may or may not stay the same or change. All of it is very normal. There's no one way. Okay, I'm moving to 5, flavor. This area or feeling had a flavor. I'm like tasting it with my attention. I guess more acidic than alkaline. It's not like baking powder. It's brighter. It has this kind of sting. If flavor could have a sting, kind of how people describe wine. They say round and warm. If flavor could be a stinging kind of thing. Oh, I see down here in the hints, a sharp, that matches mine. It's not round, a little acidic. It is also warm, though more in a temperature sense. I mean, my throat, when I put my hand to my throat, I don't feel a temperature change from my cheek. But the inside feels kind of like hot or warm. Color. Oh, red. Like fleshy red. Oh, now here's the temperature, moisture. Okay, so like warm. Yeah, warm, hot. It's almost like this practice is a little bit like I'm never quite sure, like, am I imagining? Is it like if I put a temperature to it, would it match my experience? I don't worry about that stuff. I'm just sort of like, well, for some reason this warm word warm and hot, like the feeling or the concept or something about the temperature of that matches my experience of this sensation. That might make sense to you or not. Hopefully it's a little bit helpful. If it feels confusing, don't worry about it. Just kind of let it go as best you can. Okay, so moisture, yeah, like dry or humid. This area is definitely super moist feeling. And again, that idea of kind of imagination, like I know inside of me that the tissue's rather wet, like, but there's also like a feeling of moisture. Like my skin can feel very dry, or maybe my teeth even might feel dry, or something like that, or my hair might feel dry. But this area, like I get a sense that it's very moist. It's not really sweaty. Checking out these hints. It's definitely not cool or refreshing, or not like a warm blanket. Sort of like a sauna, but it's not so nice feeling. Not like being in a womb. Okay, so moving on to 8. Internal sounds or words. Even if you hear nothing outside of your body, do you have a feeling of a sound happening internally? This is sort of like that feeling of like temperature. I can't sense a temperature difference on the outside of me, but it's sort of like in my imagination it is warm. And a little bit in some kind of imagination realm like that, like sometimes I hear regions of my body and like they're kind of saying things or making sounds, even though there's no external sound happening. So if that makes sense to you at all, if you experience anything like that, this is what this question is about. When I listen to my area, kind of has this like ah sound happening. Or that sound feels like it fits this area. You can check out the hints there. They might relate. Number 9. Are there any other aspects that haven't been mentioned yet? I don't think so. Feels pretty covered. I'm going to check out the hints. Oh, the shape of this area or feeling. Or if it feels new or familiar. Like, is it a brand new feeling or is it familiar? It's familiar. I have felt this feeling before. For sure. And it's round. I mean, it feels like the shape of like a donut, kind of. But like a donut that's like, or a bagel that's like so, what do you call that word? Like expanded, that the hole closes up. It feels like that. That's the shape of my thing. And one other thing I like to check that is not on the form, but I check this regularly, is like looking for the boundary. So I'm gonna draw it on here. So like if you have like a grass field and then there's like a stone wall or a wooden fence or a hedgerow, there's like grass separated by other plant material. These are all kind of boundaries from grass A to grass B, say. And then this is the border. And maybe some grass grows into the border. Maybe some grass from A gets into B, B gets into A, what have you. But whatever you're checking out right now, notice, is there like kind of a, like, for example, my fingers feel very uninvolved with this thing, this sensation I've been exploring in my neck, in my throat. Even my eyeballs don't feel so related. More so, I can feel a little connection there. So kind of noticing like this area of sensation, is it tied to other areas of your flesh? Of you? Tied to other areas of you? Does it extend beyond you? Beyond your skin? Mine today is pretty centralized. It's pretty contained. And so I'm sort of noticing like, okay, so if it's pretty contained, where does it sort of end? I can't quite tell. There's no clean line that marks this area from another area, but if I notice into that borderland, I get a little more nuanced, a little more detail in my like compass. And again, the sides and the bottom. I'm really working with the top and the bottom here for me. At the bottom edge of my donut thing. And for me, I feel kind of like these tendrils, like kind of coming down a little bit and like coming up a little bit. Like it feels like it's spilling like threads down and up from this centralized area. And yours might be more liquid and kind of like spilling in the way that liquid blends with each other, like coffee and water or something, or like fog. Mine just happens to kind of be this like donut with like wispy threads on either end. So that's about the shape and the boundary for me. Okay, so moving to this final 10. This is the place of like really, I feel like a lot of people love this place, or kind of always want to get here and like be in the why, what does it mean? If you want to dive in, this is the time. This is kind of like the thinky think time. But you don't have to. You don't need to summarize with any words. You can just let the experience be and end here without writing anything down. You can draw something. You can do kind of free association. Sometimes I sort of ask myself, like, is there any like kind of new thing that I learned? Is there like a realization? Even if it's like micro, it doesn't need to be profound. It might be. But it might be like real basic. A real basic kind of, oh, I'm just here kind of considering, is there anything I want to write down to remember? Anything at all, however directly related or unrelated. I guess the only thing I want to note is that felt good. Like for me, I still kind of feel some of what I started with, but it's definitely like eased up quite a bit. And moved a little bit. Yours may have changed completely or not at all, or you might have a totally different experience. I think of this form and also this like, you know, writing like, okay, that felt good. Like I'm remembering again, I'm reminding myself this practice feels good. It might feel different later, but today it feels good, and that's kind of important to track. So yeah, this whole form and the practices themselves, I feel like are kind of nice ways just to like at the end of them kind of be like, what was that like? Here's a little tracking information for myself, so that a month from now, when I'm in a totally different state, I can remember like, that felt good. Maybe I want to try it again. Maybe not. Just like that. Okay, so that sums up this practice. The following videos are going to be different versions. I often bring questions to myself and also do a body scan again, but it's a very kind of different experience often when I'm working with specific material. A lot of this is inspired by Eugene Genlin's focusing. You can look it up on the YouTubes if you can't find it. You can write me. I'll send you a link or point you in the direction. Yeah, but that's it for today. I guess finally, if you like my work, you can support it on my website. There's a spot at the bottom of the first page. You can contribute some dollars or what have you if you got it. Mostly, I hope this really supports you and your being a human in relation to all the rest of the world.